Hello, welcome, welcome. Corinne, Sylvia, I see you got your passport to get over the border into Chester County today.
I did.
Yeah. Hey, Lori, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good to see you. We need a drink, I think. We're overdue on our wines.
How is that not on our calendar already?
I don't know. Let's work that around. Oh my goodness. Sorry to make y'all guys wait outside in the cold for that couple of minutes there. The sunshine was good, but still. We have got a wonderful group today, and out of respect for your time, the courthouse bells are ringing a high noon. So is it all right to get started? Yes. We have Donna Ann Harris today. He's going to be our thought leader, and Heather Reifer, we want to do a wave that a lot of you know from Chester County 250, as well as a lot of other things. Beth Kralis is going to be turning off people who have loud background noises and making sure to let people in. And what we'll do is, I'm Karen Simmons. I'm going to do a brief overview on Chester County 250. And since a lot of you have heard it already, it's going to be a real quick run. If you want a longer version, follow up with an email and we can do that individually or in smaller groups. But we're really here today to talk about Chester County 250 and are you visitor ready? And that's where Donna can be of great help. So, and we will send to everybody who registered for today, we'll send a copy of the PDF and the recording. A link will be sent out right afterwards. How's that? Does that work?
Great.
Okay. So can you see on the PowerPoint that's on my screen?
Yes.
Somebody give me an answer. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right. So basically what we're talking about today, and there'll be a follow-up in another month, zooming in to make history. For Chester County 250, we briefly introduced some of the people who are working on it from Chester County. And as I hope you all know, the 250 is the 250th celebration and commemoration of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Somebody asked me yesterday if that was the Statue of Liberty that we were going to celebrate. So we've got a long way to go because you need to understand which liberty we're celebrating still. So in 2026, we need everyone throughout the land to help celebrate and commemorate the founding of our country and the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And especially in Chester County, this is a we the people crowdsourcing grassroots up event. And you're so involved in what we do in Chester County that we've had quite a bit of legacy activity because of our very location and the power of our place in the founding of our country. And it's fascinating to me that for Chester County 250, there are things very specific to the power of our place in Chester County that because of where we are, we were involved in the very founding of our country. And so our aim throughout 2026, leading up to 2026, and then afterwards, is to really help people encounter the whole bunch of ways, the many ways that Chester County participated in and influenced the past from the founding of our nation, and then also to elevate everyone's understanding of our continuing journey to build a more perfect union. And these themes about the power of place, the American experiment, unfinished revolutions, and we the people, these are national themes for the 250 celebrations and commemorations throughout the country. Specific to Chester County, based on our heritage tourism plan that's just been completed and approved, the Philadelphia campaign is a huge part of the power of our place. Iron and Steel, and the Pathway to Freedom, and of course the agricultural bounty of Chester County. because of just where we're located. And so for 250, for our celebrations throughout 2026, the reason I think this is a little different than in the past is that we want to make sure that the sites that visitors will be attracted to are ready for more visitors and more, whether they're tourists or locals. And so we're here today to talk about visitor readiness. And for this 250, we want to make sure that we can co-promote events that are going on throughout Chester County that have to do with our nation's founding, as well as our continuing journey to build a more perfect union. The 250 Commission doesn't want to put on a whole bunch of separate events. What we're really trying to do is to support you, we the people, in whatever events you want to do. And we want to co-promote them so much so that you'll get more exposure for those things that you're doing. And for events that are already going on, that might not be heritage related, we're reaching out to those community groups to urge them to put an overlay about freedom, liberty, justice for all, patriotism onto their already existing events. So the outreach that we're doing all has to do with elevating everybody's understanding of our role in the nation's founding past and how that influences our present as we look to the future.
Yes.
I put that forward for you so that you can have the context for the Heritage Tourism Plan. And this map has the places, the themes for the Philly campaign. Iron and steel is the gray. The green is the overlay for the agricultural regions. And then the continuing journey, the pathway to freedom by the very site of where we're located was that unfinished business that still continues. So these are specific heritage tourism themes for Chester County. And we know from working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the 250s through the other counties, we fully expect that everybody's going to come to Philadelphia, right? And then they're going to make that lovely trek to Valley Forge. And there's some of them driving down to Longwood Gardens, the other big visitor place. We want to make sure that we are visitor ready throughout Chester County to entice families to stop, take a look at what's going on with the heritage legacy in Chester County and places for them to discover and reach out and touch these hidden gems that we all have here. Plus, we also want to make sure they know where to go to eat, drink, and be merry between the sites that they're visiting, so that we can really encourage them to have a great time discovering Chester County in small groups and coming back for more. So that's what we're trying to help get people visitor ready for and sites visitor ready for. I hope you've seen the website that we have for 250. All this is there. There's co-promotion areas on it so that as you have events and things that come up, let us know. And if you can't enter them yourself, we'll enter them for you. Beth Kralis just kind of shot me for saying that, but we want to, and this is an extranet with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So you get double promotion, not just on our emails and our social medias, but also the CVPs. So the website's there. It is now in the time that we are warming up and getting the community aware that 250 is coming. Heritage sites are in their glow up phase, I guess you call it, where there's all kinds of repairs and upgrades to get ready for more visitors. And we're starting to get the word out to just the community so that they can start to think about programs, maybe that aren't more capital intensive, but are just programmatic scheduling. And in Chester County, we just don't celebrate throughout 2026, because as you all well know, the Battle of the Brandywine was in 1777. So we go throughout 26, 27, and over to Valley Forge will have its 250th by 28. So the things we're putting in place are forever legacy things. They're not just a one-shot deal. So I put that forward because, as I said, we are looking for each organization, each community group to decide what they want to do together to really put forward what the heritage and freedom means to you and how do we want to show it and share it throughout 2026 and beyond. There's some planning tips to help groups get groups together and come up with ideas, and we've got more coming for you. That's why we do these Zoom sessions at least once a month, and we'll do some in person as well. I put that all forward so that you know that we need you to help spread the word, and there's a media kit available and getting the messages out. And I'm glad you zoomed in today, because when it comes to visitor readiness, Donna Harris is masterful. What do we call that, Donna? Donna
I know a lot about.
knows a lot about visitor readiness, especially for heritage sites. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Donna.
All right, well, thank you, Karen. I'm really excited to be with all of you today. We've got more than 50 people on this call, and that's a great turnout. So what I'm going to do is talk about the visitor readiness self-assessment that we sent around to many of you. We hope filled it out, and we appreciate the time you took to tell us what was on your mind about your organization and how you're preparing to welcome visitors for the 250th in Chester County. Next, please. So what is visitor readiness? It's a consistent delivery of an experience at a historic site, at an event, or an activity. It's starting with the adherence to published hours of operation, consistently providing the experience marketed to visitors at the published price of admission, if it has an admission price. So many of you are free. But the Visitor Ready site also offers a variety of amenities and services, such as a gift shop, tour guides, on-site literature, etc., to aid in the delivery of the desired experience. So cleanliness and safety are expected, and quality is assumed at visitor-ready sites. So the designation of visitor readiness affirms the promise and responsibility of the host, the organization, providing open and accessible site ready to welcome visitors. And finally, in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which was one of the first destinations to create a visitor-ready designation program for historic sites, described visitor readiness as being prepared to welcome the public, having the ability to meet their expectations, and exhibiting high standards of appearance and operations. Next, please. So the experts at the National Trust for Historic Preservation's Heritage Tourism Program came up with specific criteria to determine if a site was visitor ready or whether it was still working towards visitor readiness. Here's what Cheryl Hargrove, the former National Trust staffer and author of the book Cultural Heritage Tourism: 5 Steps for Success and Sustainability, says about what visitor ready sites need to have. They need to have safe operations for visitors, meaning lighting for safety, well-maintained paths, appropriate insurance, and a business license to operate. They must be open to the public on published days and hours with at least one weekend day. Could be seasonal, but open by appointment is discouraged because visitors who want to just drop by do not wish to make arrangements in advance. Visitor amenities: handicap parking, handicap restrooms, on-site signage, bus parking, and refreshments. If a gift shop is available, does the merchandise reflect the site or program themes? And does it offer locally made items? Tour guides and docents, paid or volunteer? Do you train them? And do you offer opportunities for them to learn about neighboring sites and hotels, restaurants, and other places for people to stay to encourage your visitors to go there? Tours of all kinds. They can be guided, they can be self-guided, they can be children's tours, themed tours, interactive or immersive experiences, and of course, some sites would want to offer school programming. Programs: relevant and compelling activities for current and potential visitors, multiple programs for visitors, and how often are they updated can make a big difference to encourage repeat visitors with different programming. And then finally, marketing to capacity. What's the maximum number of people per day, per year that your site can handle without compromising the integrity of the site? Do you have time tickets if you have tickets, or if you have an admission? Can you divide up large groups of people and have them rotate to various parts of your site? And then finally, do you have specifically designated school group tour days? Next, please. So 49 organizations responded to our survey. It was sent to more than 100 history, park, open space, government, and tourism organizations throughout the county. We thank those that responded to it, and we also thank Heather Reifer for badgering many people to respond. So we really appreciate that. We got a much better understanding of your needs because of this survey. Next, please. From this list, you can see that we had quite a variety of organizations that participated. The very largest organizations responded, including Longwood Gardens, National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum, Chadds Ford, Chester County History Center, Wharton Esherick Museum, and Historic Yellow Springs. Smallest organizations were well represented. Christian Sanderson Museum, the Mill at Anselma, the Brinton 1704 House, Friends of Martin's Tavern, and the Antique Ice Tool Museum. 23% of the respondents were not historic sites, which was a real opportunity for us to understand what people were hoping to get from being involved in the 250th celebration in Chester County. People's Light, French and Pickering Creek Conservation Trust, Great Marsh Institute, the DAR chapter. 5 townships responded, a food bank, the YMCA of Greater Brandon, and the Westchester Food Festival. In the end, we think this was a really good overall snapshot of the organizations in the county who wanted to know more about being ready for visitors for the semi-quincentennial in 2026. Next one, please. So what I wanted to talk about first was about these 49 organizations to give us a setting for the questions that we asked. So there's a wide distribution of operating budget. Close to half, 47%, have budgets under $250,000, which indicates to me that these sites and organizations may have one full-time or a couple of part-time staff members. It's very likely that many of these lower budget sites have no paid staff, which we'll talk about in the next slide. These wait, go back, please. Okay, thank you. These smaller organizations are really the primary audience for these webinars. And the small sites are interested in having visitors and they want advice about what they can do in the next 2 or 3 years so they build their site so they're ready for both residents and visitors who'll be coming for the semi-quincentennial. Next, please. So this bar chart about paid staff is not surprising given the responses to the first question about their operating budget. 42% of the responding organizations had no staff, 0, zip, none. When we add up those that had 4 staff members or less, that's 66% of the entire population. So this makes sense to me given the operating budgets. However, there are 5 organizations that are very large. They have between 20 and 499 staff members. These are the very largest organizations like Longwood, Iron and Steel Heritage Museum, Chadds Ford, Yellow Springs, Chester County History Center as examples. Again, these very large organizations will not need help to become visitor ready. They are visitor ready right now. They're doing a great job hosting local residents and visitors, some even international visitors at their programs. Next, please. So we know about the challenges of recruiting, recognizing, and retaining volunteers, especially post-COVID-19. So many of our organizations lost countless numbers of volunteers, regular volunteers, because during that long period when many of our organizations were closed, even after getting back on track and reopening, many of us were still left with many fewer volunteers because they just fell out of the habit. This is an interesting look here at what's happening in 2024. 10 of the sites have only 1 to 4 volunteers. Obviously, they're the smallest sites. The majority, though, have 10 to 19 volunteers, but we need to provide many more ideas and training for smaller organizations so that they can reach a new group of volunteers to help them. It would be ideal to have training to learn from your peers about what's working for them and what's not in volunteer recruitment. There are only 7 groups with huge volunteer corps over 100 people. We know that these are the very largest organizations who have staff that are just solely dedicated to recruiting, placing, caring for, and celebrating the volunteers who give their time to the organization. Next, please. The next 2 questions really ask about the organizational founding dates and the age of the organization's main building. 41% of the organizations were founded from 1960 to 1999. This made complete sense to me. When we look at providing those that are providing this answer, it's a good cross-section of the history organizations and historic sites that were founded in the lead up to the bicentennial or soon thereafter. Another 20% were founded in the last 24 years. And then one organization was founded in the last 4 years. Next, please. This question was asked to identify the age of the sites in general. Here, the majority, 70%, were more than 100 years old, 31% being older than 250 years. These are the county's oldest sites. They were the ones that were set aside generations ago to represent America's founding ideals and teach us about Chester County's history. These older sites are likely to be at the center of our celebration during the semi-quincentennial coming up in 2026. Next, please. And then where are they located? 38 other organizations are in central Chester County. There's another clutch up in northern Chester County, 20%, and then southern Chester County at 13%. But when you look at Karen's map, which she showed earlier, you'll see that these organizations are spread throughout the county. So we're going to move on now to the self-assessment responses. We had a 50% response rate, which I thought was very good statistically. And we thank you so much for participating. Next, please. So this question allowed organizations to pick as many of these statements as they wanted to describe their site or organization. And so asking for multiple answers, we got 125 total recorded responses. A majority, 60%, called themselves a historic building. Another half of them called themselves a historic site. Several others were heritage centers, 38%, or a museum. And slightly more than a third identified themselves as either a land preserve, a park, or a trail, 35%. 25% of the organization described themselves a historic marker, historic sign, monument. 20% said they were historic town or village. 20% called themselves a community center or a community hub, 18%. The rest of the designations were very small, under 10%. But what's important to note about this is that several of these organizations see their site serving a variety of roles in the community, a lot of them centered around history. Next, please. This is another question where respondents could check as many options as they needed. Over half, almost 60%, of the responding organizations said that they were open to visitors on the weekend. That is terrific, because that's when visitors want to come. 39% said they were open on weekdays. Slightly less, 40% said their organizations were open all year. 20% said their organizations were answered open a few times a month on a fixed posted schedule. Fixed posted schedule is the most important thing here. And then 26% said they were open by appointment. 6 organizations said they were closed during the winter, meaning their seasonal attraction. That's perfectly fine. And again, this allowed for multiple responses. 70 different responses were recorded. And we're really so pleased in seeing this, that so many of the respondents were open on weekends when visitors are most likely to visit. Next, please. The next question discussed themes that the organization used for their interpretive programs. And if you haven't already become familiar with the 6 themes that the Chester County Heritage Tourism Plan is using to create coordinated themes for tours, I wanted to review them with you. So the natural landscape, these are just basic statements about them. Chester County's natural resources have shaped its history and development. The cultural landscape. Chester County preserves rare insights into daily life in the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries through its evolving agricultural landscape and the character of its historic communities and structures. Evolving values. The varied experiences and perspectives of peoples who have shaped our social conscience and laid the groundwork for the diversity and social values that continue to influence Chester County today. Iron and steel. Early iron furnaces and forges flourished in the region and were the birthplace of Pennsylvania's 3 centuries of industrial prominence. The Philadelphia Campaign. From Brandywine to Valley Forge, the Philadelphia Campaign was a turning point in the American Revolution. Chester County landscape played a central role in the unfolding of events. And then finally, creative expression. The arts and culture have long flourished in Chester County in many forms. Some nationally recognized visual artists have been inspired by the beauty of the landscape. Our next question focuses on the themes and others and allows respondents to pick multiple options. We wanted to know how the responding organizations use these themes and put forth either in the national or Chester County semi-quincentennial themes for the upcoming 250th anniversary. The most important theme for these 49 organizations was socio-cultural landscape. 60%, 59% responded that this applies to their organization a lot. Another theme was popular was the Philadelphia Campaign, which is not unexpected. 47% said this theme applies to their organization a lot. Third most important was community volunteerism, where 43% said a lot. Some of the other important a lot responses included natural landscape. That made sense. A third of our respondents were a trail, a conservancy, or a park. And uniting our community, which both had 38%. Themes such as evolving values, creative expression, civics, agriculture, freedom, democracy, all had 10 to 20 organizations designating them as moderately or little relevant to their sites. Next, please. So when we consider this Chester County Heritage Tourism theme, we see that many organizations see their organizations fitting into these themes either a lot or moderately. So the cultural landscape, 22 organizations say that theme fits them a lot or moderately. Evolving values, 21 organizations said that theme fits them a lot. Philadelphia Campaign, 18 organizations said it fit them. Creative expression, 19 organizations said it fit them. Natural landscape, 16 organizations said it fit them a lot or moderately. And iron and steel, 10 organizations said that this theme fit them a lot or moderately. Let's go to the next one. This communication tools was an important one for me to learn about and how you think about your the tools that you use right now. All of these communication tools are important for a well-established visitor attraction, but we don't expect any but the largest organization to have all of those. But the large majority, 83%, said that their website was excellent or okay, a visitor communication tool, which I think is terrific. And only 11% said it was poor. 84% said their social media was excellent or okay, and only 11% said it was poor. 86% said our paper brochures were excellent or okay, and only 6% said that paper brochures were poor. Other visitor communication tools didn't rate quite as high. Website videos only got 56% as excellent or okay, and a quarter said that they were poor. QR code usage was okay for half of the respondents, but 19% said it was poor. Mobile app had the most not applicable answers at 67%, probably because few organizations have them now. But you'll see later that there's high interest in collaborating on a mobile app to bring visitors to your destination. Next one. Just wait one here. This just to reiterate that the responding organizations were really pleased on the whole with their visitor communication tools that they have now. Only a few believe that they're poor. So all these communication vehicles are important for well-established village visitor attraction, but not every organization needs to have all of them. So thank you. Next one, please. So signage tools. This question was a breakdown about on-site signage for visitors. 80% said they think that their on-site signage was excellent or okay. Welcome area signage were generally satisfactory. 67% said they were excellent or good. 53% said parking signs were excellent or okay. As for outdoor signs that provide an overview of the site when it's closed, only 20% of the respondents thought theirs was excellent. Another 30% said that they were okay. But over half respondents said exterior interpretive signs were either poor or not applicable. The bottom line here is that most of the responding organizations believe their on-site signage is excellent or okay, but there are some organizations that believe major upgrades are needed as they rated themselves poor in several categories. Signage help may be a significant need to address for the Chester County 250th Commission. Next slide. So programming. This asked about programming for tours, events, and programs that at the responding organizations. On the whole, again, responding organizations were highly positive about their visitor tour programs and events. 80% of respondents said our guided tours were considered excellent or okay. 90% of the organizations rated special events as excellent or okay. 88% their programs were in general were excellent or okay. And our site overall was viewed by 90% as either excellent or okay. The remaining categories are pretty positive also in this section, with most showing that between 30 or 40% of the organization considering them excellent. The top 5 categories in okay seem to include our site access and programs for people with special needs. 49% listed them just as okay. Our parking, 44% that it was okay rather than excellent. Our self-guided tours, 42% said they were okay rather than excellent. Our family and children's programs, 40% were okay rather than excellent. And our site overall, 39% said it was okay rather than excellent. The highest poor rating was site access and programs for the disabled, 20%. Half of their respondents, 49%, said disability access was just okay. To sum up, the responding organization believed their tours, programs, and events are mostly in good shape. Next, please. In this question, we asked respondents to tell us about their visitor amenities. Visitor amenities are important to provide good hospitality to guests. Not every organization will have all of these, but we need some. The respondents were asked to rate them on excellent, good, poor, and not applicable. So visitor amenities, an area that really seems to need more work to the survey respondents. None of the questions received the majority in excellent responses. The highest ranking category was restrooms. 73% consider them to be either excellent or okay. 60% said that they provide recommendations to visitors about where to eat or drink off-site, which is either excellent or okay, which is terrific. 30% said it wasn't applicable to them. 65% said the recommendation for where to visit next was okay or excellent. 30% said it was not applicable. Few respondents said they had an on-site gift shop. That's perfectly normal. But the ones that did have one, they said 40% said it was excellent or good. Even fewer had beverages or food to purchase at the site. 81% that it was not applicable to them. None of the other categories reach over 25% in the excellent category. For example, our recommendations on where visitors should consider eating or drinking on site, and our recommendations where visitors could consider visiting next after they've done with our site, received only 24% excellent responses. Not every organization needs all of these visitor amenities, like on-site food, beverages, or a gift shop, but they do need to have docents or visitor services personnel that know where visitors can find these essential items at nearby sites and organizations. Not every organization needs to have a restroom, but if you do, it's best that it's an ADA compliant one. If you don't have a disability accessible restroom, it's important for you to know where one is close by, so you can make a referral for visitors to that site or organization. Next one. visitor feedback methods. We wanted respondents to ask how they get feedback from visitors. 81% said they get feedback from face-to-face talks, either a lot or a moderate amount. Community word of mouth gets back to us, also an important source. 88% said they got a lot or moderate amount of responses for this. The third highest response was for social media comments. More than 58% said the organization got a lot or moderate amount of feedback from visitors this way. It seems that few organizations use surveys returned by visitors after their visit or a suggestion box at the visitor center. 53%, more than half, said they don't use these at all. And 51% use online reviews, either a lot or a moderate amount. So gathering visitor feedback is important for any organization that wants to improve their offerings for visitors. This question illustrates that some, but not all, of the responding organizations have made it a regular habit to gather visitor feedback a lot or most of the time. Next one, please. We did ask about school programs, and not every one of our survey respondents have a school program. That was obvious from the high number of respondents that said the category in this section wasn't applicable to them. But 40% said their school program was tied to the Pennsylvania curriculum standards for specific grades. We're delighted to see that. That's terrific. And 37% agreed that student visits to their organizations were free, either a lot or a moderate amount. 29% said they charged a fee. 51% said the school group visit their site a lot or moderate amount. And 30% of all the respondents said school visits didn't occur or were not applicable. About half, 47%, said an online resource bank for school visit programming would not be applicable, but 36% said it would be of interest, either a lot or a moderate amount. 51% said they did, which was surprising to me, they did do outreach to schools using travel trunks, displays, lectures, or performances. Not that many of the responding organizations do have school programs, but the ones that do generally tie their tours to curriculum, which is terrific. Next one is about the people in our organization, either paid or volunteer. The top response to the yes was a tie between we could benefit from having younger volunteers and our board is effective, which we both received 60%, more than half yeses. Not far behind was our board recruitment and retention is effective, and then our volunteer retention is effective, both in the 40% area. There were a lot of negative responses here. We have sufficient numbers of paid staff. 26% said no, meaning that 70% believe that they need to have sufficient staff. There were 4 questions in this group here related to volunteers. Responding organization wanted more younger volunteers. Yes, 60% said that. Responding organizations also said volunteer retention was effective. 65% said either yes or somewhat. Only 29% of respondents said they had a sufficient number of volunteers, meaning that 70% don't. So volunteers recruitment is really important to all of these organizations. And only a quarter said that their volunteer recruitment was effective. 17% not effective. So when I look at all of the questions from this survey, it seems that the weakest area seems to revolve around volunteers, recruitment and retention as well. Especially prominent is the need to recruit younger volunteers. So training and support around volunteer recruitment and retention seems to be a clear need for the majority of the responding organizations. Next question is about marketing. And this is how visitors learn about other attractions, not just about you, but other sites in the vicinity. This one had the most divided responses. There was no single answer that received more than 50% of the responses. The respondents generally agreed they want to be included in a mobile app to help visitors find nearby attractions. About half, 47%, so they would be interested in that a lot. Also highly rated was we share brochures of other sites and attractors for visitors to take. And we're interested in exploring the possibility of having a countywide kiosk at or near our site to help visitors find nearby attractions. That received about a third lot responses. We share currently countywide visitor guides and magazines at our site for visitors to take. Got 53% that already do that. And there are three categories that many organizations are not doing at all. The first is we regularly tour nearby hotels, restaurants, and other visitor amenities to make recommendations to visitors. 40% said they don't do that. Another one was we regularly attend familiarization tours to see other sites, venues, and attractions. 25% said that they don't do this at all. Making referrals from one organization to another is a powerful way to get more visitors to your site. That requires that the visitor service personnel, either paid or volunteers, have a good knowledge about the nearby sites and other sites that share the same themes that you have. Docents need to know with visitor amenities at this site, about the visitor amenities at this site too, such as whether there's a disability accessible restroom, whether there are food and beverage opportunities, and whether there's a nice gift shop there. By having docents or tour guides share what visitor amenities there are on neighboring sites, we're being hospitable and good hosts to others. Referrals are really prized in heritage tourism, and we need to do more in this area so we're ready for visitors coming for the 250th. So this last question, next please, really wrapped up the visitor readiness assessment and asked about preparations for the 250th. Respondent organizations were very interested in working with nearby attractions and activities to create linked experience to suggest to visitors. Almost 70% replied very much they were very interested in this. Partnering with others to co-promote our programs and event, and marketing and promotion both received 66% very interested responses. Other two categories you received over half very interested were help finding, recruiting, engaging, and supporting younger volunteers, and linking more with programs and events around the themes to attract distinct audiences. Again, 54%. On the whole, all the responding organizations were very interested in being prepared and participating in the Chester County 250th. So to summarize this data, next please. I want to share where help is needed, what seems to be working well, and what the responding organizations are most interested in for the future. Next, please. There were a lot of common issues where assistance was needed. More and better signage is needed, whether directional or interpretive signs at a site to tell about its history when the site is closed. Most everybody wants more volunteers, and more want younger volunteers. Many want help with self-guided tours, whether that's a brochure, a QR code, interpretive sign, or an audio tour. Many organizations want more visitor amenities, such as better parking, ADA-compliant restrooms, food and beverage options, and better accessibility for disabled visitors in general. We need to make more of an effort to learn about neighboring sites so that our frontline visitor services staff, whether they're paid or volunteer, can make good referrals to other sites about their historic content and visitor amenities. Next, so what's working well? The self-assessment allowed us to learn directly from you, organizations that are open to the public, about what you think about how the organization is preparing for the upcoming 250th anniversary. We're pleased that that the overwhelming majority feel good about their website, social media, and brochures. They're proud of their visitor programming, including the guided tours they give, their events, and other educational programming. And these organizations also solicit feedback from visitors from a variety of means, but mostly face-to-face contact seems to be the one that works best for them. Next, please. So there's a great deal of interest in technology as a marketing tool to bring more visitors to the responding organizations. Many are excited about an app for visitors to Chester County, and they want to partner with their peers in the county to drive more residents and visitors to their organizations and others. most needed marketing and promotional support in order to get ready for the 250th. So that wraps up my presentation. I thank you for listening. I'm happy to take your questions about this research. You can do it in the chat, or if you just want to unmute yourself, we can, have you relay that question verbally. We'd like to see your face.
Questions, comments, observations on the responses. Does it sound like you? We want to make sure we're actually reflecting what the desires are and the strengths are so that we know where to move ahead.
Anybody want to speak up? Just unmute yourself, please.
Hi, Donna. It's Jim Garrison.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
I have something from my long experience in doing Chester County tours. I put it in the chat. Bus tours are particularly problematic in this county. I can
Yeah.
think of very few that have actually been successful because of our bridges and narrow roads.
Yep.
I think there needs to be a real effort, maybe it's Chester County Planning or somebody, to develop some kind of guidance for organizations that are thinking of bus tours, so we don't end up with people stranded or problems along the tour.
Yeah, I hear you, and it's always important to, if you're gonna offer a bus tour, to actually drive it and make sure that you're driving it with somebody that understands that it's you're having 55 visitors on a bus like that, and if they can't get over the quaint, charming one-lane bridge, it's not gonna work.
You've been there, Mark.
Yeah. And this is Chuck Ullman at the Sanderson Museum.
Hey.
We have, well, basically two things. Number one, getting enough volunteers, as everybody has said. We pray and hope we have enough people to keep going. Luckily, I have a couple people I could fall back on, but it's difficult. If I get one or two new people a year that stay with us, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The other big thing for us is lack of ADA compliance. We can't afford it. And this right off the bat rules all schools out for us. We never could get a school group because the first thing out of their mouth is, are you ADA compliant? And I have to say no. And they say goodbye, bang. So that just wipes us out from any kind of groups like that.
Okay.
Hi, this is Mark from Callan Township. How are you? I just wanted to throw out the positive here. This has been a great presentation, and just like the last meeting, I walked away with my head exploding with ideas.
Good.
And that this is going to be ridiculously fun. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Ridiculously fun. I like that, Mark.
Anybody else?
Mark here.
Yep. Corinne?
Mark Sloth and then Corinne Sylvia.
Oh, go ahead, Corinne.
Okay, Corinne Sylvia and then Mark.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. This is tremendously helpful for those of us who are doing fundraising, because this really pinpoints the kinds of things that the organizations need to be ready and to be able to tell their story.
Yep.
Oftentimes when we approach a funder, they want to know how is this going to change? How is this going to have an effect? This is very helpful, particularly the ADA stuff. That's going to resonate. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, great.
What do you think, Mark?
All right, so Donna, that was excellent. Very motivational, and as the other Mark said, we're all exploding with ideas, hopefully. But back to the bus tours, I think that when bus tours might not be the right word, because we're not talking a big bus necessarily. And I use the Kennett Underground Railroad as an example. They've been conducting tours in a smaller scale, maybe 15 people,
Yep.
which is certainly more manageable.
Yep.
And I think they're fantastic for what they do. And as we go forward with the 250 and all the projects we're working on, the whole concept of mobile apps will maybe mitigate the need for bus tours, not totally eliminate it, but I know Janine Spears is working on a potential grant for Philadelphia campaign for that specific purpose. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach here as far as getting tourists out into our wonderful heritage. And just looking at the list of our heritage sites, it's incredible. And we really look forward to going to kind of uniting them. And as Karen and Donna had said, working with those groups and promoting them. Karen, you were very apt in your initial presentation on the goals of the 250 and helping to promote and advertise and potential funding too.
Co-promotion. Yeah, and to be clear, I don't want anybody to walk away thinking that the Heritage Tourism Plan is about getting more folks bused throughout the county. So Jim, I think Jim Garrison, when you mentioned it, in the Heritage Tourism Plan, we are very clear that Chester County is more of a family-friendly car, van, trail walking, bicycling place. The pathways are almost cow trails or deer trails. And really part of the uniqueness of Chester County is we cherish the fact that people want to discover hidden gems. And when you look at today's visitors, whether they're local people or tourists, it's all about self-discovery, interactive, small group. So the big buses are going to come to Philly, and then people are going to want to explore Chester County in small clusters. And that's really what we're trying to be very clear about emphasizing for most of the heritage tourism and organizations throughout the county.
I think the other thing, Karen, is when we were looking at stuff for the Heritage Tourism Plan, the big bus tours have they haven't gone completely the way of the dodo, but they have been in decline in the last decade or so. You don't see the big bus tours.
COVID did a number, and
Yes,
yeah,
they did.
correct.
They absolutely did.
and
But it
that's
was already
okay
on
for
the-
Chester County. It's
Yeah.
much more about vans, cars, walking trails, bike riding. That's what we really are trying to co-promote more so, which is a great thing.
And on
Yeah.
the flip side, people have been craving more intimate experiences. So Chester County's ripe with that. And we have a really good
We want to
opportunity
capitalize on that.
to leverage.
Discover, interactive, where to go next. Yeah.
I'm thinking that the whole bus issue is something important to coordinate with Susan Hamley, and the Convention and Visitors Bureaus, because Longwood, Valley Forge, the big attractions live off of bus tours.
Mhm.
And you just want to make sure that those planners are saying, okay, we got a bus going to Longwood, why don't we make a detour over to so-and-so, not realizing that that detour, for a number of reasons, is just difficult. And I think, can be very proactive about putting bus tours, at the right place, then, the moderate size, and then vans and cars. It's all one of those things about managing expectations.
Mhm.
That's very
Thank you. That's so much of what visitor readiness is about, is, as you mentioned, Jim, managing expectations, because we can't sell something to a visitor and then not deliver on the promise. And so it's from the simplest thing about restroom cleanliness. You know, people are expecting a meticulously maintained restroom. And if we don't offer that, then we've disappointed somebody. And the potential for negative social media comments or on Yelp or, you know, all these other online forums about a dirty bathroom, you don't want to get that. You don't want people talking about that about your site.
Now Ranger Adam is here from Valley Forge and you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi, I just want to say, I don't think we live on bus tours, I mean, 80% of our visitation is local, but
Yeah,
I heard a lot of the bus conversation going around. We had 6 buses come into the park today. Now, mind you, we are one of those destinations that, especially like for like school field trips, which is what all the ones that came through the park today were. That's a big thing. I would say as a county, something of like putting out there, like, here are routes that are good for buses. You know, that's
Sure.
one thing that you guys can definitely
That's
do.
a great
For
idea.
your yeah, like, just so you know, like, so it's
Great
like,
idea.
hey, this road, if you know,
You've
think
done
about
it
Route
very-
one.
Yeah.
for individual sites, put it out there that, yeah, getting here by bus is not feasible. You will rip the roof off of it, or you'll fall off a cliff, or whatever it's going to happen.
You won't make the corner and it
Yeah.
won't fit under the bridge.
You know, and like, just kind of put it out there. And I know that might be cutting off a large segment of your visitation, but if they can't get there, they can't get there. And when it comes to like visitor readiness, I'm just going to put this out there. Like, if you, the Disney Institute puts out a great book. It's called Be Our Guest.
Right.
And it's all about like sort of the Disney philosophy on customer service and everything. And there's like one, if you don't, I'll give one little spoiler. There's 4 points. It's safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency is how they like rank their operations. If your visitors aren't safe, they aren't going to enjoy their visit. If you're not courteous, they won't enjoy their visit. You maintain the show, and then you maintain your efficiency, and they are prioritized in that order. You don't give up courtesy for safety. You don't give up efficiency for courtesy. So that sort of thing. But yeah, but there's, yeah, the bus thing, you're right. I remember one of the first times I visited the area when I was in college with my lacrosse team. We were trying to play a game at Villanova, and we almost got stuck under the train line because of the tiny bridge. So
Karen?
Yes, sir.
I have
Yeah,
to
Mark.
run, but I want to make a plug here. So there's a lot of new people on line right now. And I urge you to go to the Harriet Tubman Byway, Google Harriet Tubman Byway. And this website's still being developed, but it's pretty incredible to start. And it gives some insight into the rich heritage, one component and one theme of the rich heritage that we have in Chester County here. So, you know, for you history buffs and those in general that are interested in the Underground Railroad abolition, Harriet Tubman Byway. It's still in the development stage, but it'll give you a little snippet of, you know, what the 250 is looking at for developing the various themes.
And more to come on that. Who
Yeah.
else? Beth and Steve, you had a comment?
Yeah. I
Go
want
ahead.
to add something. It's a little bit in the weeds because I work in marketing communications, and we did talk a little bit about visitor communication tools. But I just wanted to mention for all these organizations, you have a Google profile that is created that like is not necessarily connected to your organization. Google sometimes combs that information from your website, but it might not be accurate. So I would just encourage you to read your Google profile. You just go to Google and you log in, or you might have to claim it as your organization. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a special marketing session in the future where we can go more in depth on this, but just to make sure that your organization's hours are correct and that you can upload your own pictures of things. So visitors, I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of visitors Google your organization. They might not go to your website. They might get the information Google has compiled from your website. And if it's not accurate, you might be losing visitors.
Very good.
Yes, Beth, we will
Thank
be
you.
doing follow-up sessions on social media and you will be helping to organize them.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's
This is just to get
important
ready for
one.
that.
Yeah.
Voluntold, when you look at the survey results.
Yeah,
Steve, what do you have?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for a tremendous presentation. I actually just wanted to piggyback up on the gentleman, was that Mark, talking about the Harriet Tubman Byway? So that
Yes.
website, I just want to point out, we need some help there because it links to the new Pennsylvania extension. And it's that link actually does not point to any information about this new extension, any specific information. And I'm really interested in this because it's related to our local history, exactly where this byway is. My understanding, it's the Route 52 corridor up through Longwood, but where does it extend exactly into Pennsylvania? I just wanted to, because I'm very much interested in that, and I think that's a huge piece of the semi-quincentennial that we should be looking at. We have a little bit of a challenging problem in our township because we don't have, while we have historic sites, we have very landlocked. There's one place that's a park that we might be able to do something talking about some of the historic sites that are close by, but we're having a challenge in terms of creating live events because the parking lot is small. And I'm just wondering if there might have been any other best practices in regards to that. So those are my 2 points. Thank you.
Okay.
So
Great.
Stephen, just to, Stephen, wait a second. Okay.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah, just to quickly comment, the Harriet Tubman Byway was the first initial delving into the whole Underground Railroad. Our group's currently applied for a Vision Partnership grant, so it's really going to be extended throughout all Chester County. That's what we're working toward now. But you can get my email, and certainly we can converse. And we have a fairly large group steering committee put together, but we're certainly interested in any comments. So it's expanding. The byway itself will continue the byway from Maryland, Delaware, up to Longwood, and then east to Tredyffern. It actually goes into Philadelphia eventually, but we can only work within the boundaries of Chester County right now. But you can email me certainly and get my info through the 250 Commission.
Yeah, Mark, does it have a distinct website address from the one in Maryland and Delaware at this point?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Just well, actually, that's a good question, Heather. I think that's incorporated in it for now.
Yeah, it's not quite there, Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm
Steve is
looking it up
saying.
on my phone.
It
as
sounds
we-
like we'll have a future session and we'll
Yeah.
hook up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's evolving, but it's going to be incredible.
Steve, we'll hook you up with Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There was another question in the chat, Karen, that's is liability and insurance an expense to consider, or do visitors sign waivers or something? This was from Helen Eckel Weiner. I don't know if she can kind of explain that a little bit more. Is this for a site? Because most sites do have some form of insurance in place.
Yeah, you just have to. I mean, I've not heard of people signing waivers at this day and age.
I know we never did at the mill, and we had a pond
Still
right
on the
next to us.
call. Helen, if you want to unmute yourself, maybe you can clarify which
Yeah,
site you're
that would be great.
referencing.
Oh, sorry about that. No, as we were talking about the bus tours and things like that, it just, that to me screamed liability, but I would imagine those would be excursions, and I don't know whether they'd be riders or just under the regular insurance or commercial. That was the only thing I was saying.
We were thinking you were talking about a site. Thank you for
Yeah,
explaining
yeah.
that.
Sure.
Thanks.
I've helped get a certificate of insurance for a bus tour before. I think it's something like an extra coverage I would recommend, but
Right.
probably covered by your regular insurance provider, just an extra certificate
Okay.
too.
Thanks. I
And-
appreciate the
Yeah.
answer.
And in general, if you're trying something new, even a new event at your site, yeah, touch base with your insurance agent to make sure you have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, because they might bring something up that you haven't thought about.
Yeah, like if you bring your own food or something like that, that is an insurance
Mhm.
issue to consideration.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm cognizant that it's a little past 1 o'clock and we said 1 o'clock. Anything else for the good of the order, or we've got more to come? Zoom in next month, same time, same channel sort of thing. And also, if you have individual questions, comments, please feel free to reach out the website, and you can send questions through the website. You can give us a call. And as I said, we'll be sending the handout to everybody who registered for it, but there's so much more to come. We'll be doing monthly workshops on Zoom, and we'll just come out to talk about 250 with your organizations. Just let us know what you are looking for, and save the date for Friday, June 7th, where we'll be doing in-person summit at Thornbury Farm on 250 readiness. And it sounds like we have some ideas for what to do at the next couple of Zoom sessions, and we're going to line up a whole docket for the coming year as well, based on some of the things you've been asking about and what you've disclosed in the survey. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Onward. Thank you so much. More to come. We'll see you soon. All right.